Nigeria. Good evening, Lagos. Good evening, Africa. You are welcome to another exciting, intriguing episode of Find Your Voice and Own Your Space. And of course, your amiable host, Jade Sola Adewodun. I am also known as Lady Jade. And the Find Your Voice, rather, and Find Your Voice and Own Your Space podcast or episode platform is a platform where we showcase professionals who have found their voices in their different spheres of influence and they are owning their spaces. They haven't only found whatever makes them tick, they're able to maximize the influence in different spaces or where they're able to maximize their voices. And today I have a very beautiful, delectable portrait photographer. She's a personal brand strategist, she's a storyteller, she's a wife, and a new mom of a very beautiful baby girl. And ladies and gentlemen, I have with me in the studio none other than Damilola Felicia Badmore.
Hi, it's been forever.
You,
Hi, everyone.
you are right. I mean, it's really so good to have you on the show this evening. I'm really grateful that I get to do this. I'm able to help people to find their voice and to hone their space. The thing about this platform is a lot of people have stories to tell, but then they're not able to, they don't have the opportunity to, or they're probably just shy. Because last week we looked at a professional who is introverted, she'd rather be behind the scenes. But today, I believe that we're going to have a very full conversation because I want to be able to find out how you're able to navigate finding your voice, owning your space, navigating motherhood, being a wife, being a photographer, being a storyteller. And your recent posts have been they've been back to back and they've been banging. Permit me to use that
Ew.
language. But anyways, can you walk us through your journey? Because I know that you do personal branding, you're also a photographer. How are you able to blend these creativities together before we move into being a wife and being a mother? Over to you, Dami.
Okay, awesome, amazing. Thank you, Jade. It's been a long time coming. Thank you for having me. It's amazing how we get to connect with people just from, platforms like LinkedIn. And I remember at Tiba when we met in person, you were super amazing. I think
Yeah.
I'd like to say two things. First of all, not everybody extroverted, like we say, but then they're just things that you get to do on the regular that you eventually become extroverted. Yeah, the intro is becoming extroverted. For me, when I started on LinkedIn, I used to work as an education counselor, more like helping people travel abroad and all. So initially, the idea of LinkedIn came because I told my boss, okay, why can't we leverage LinkedIn to bring more students, talk about ourselves, just like Amazon marketing too? And just like, okay, so I helped out handle that part of LinkedIn. But then I've always had the side of photography because I just wanted to do photography. And because of the crazy schedule back in Lagos, you get home late, Saturdays are busy, especially for a lady living with her parents. You know how parents don't care whether you're a photographer or not, you have to do your job, especially being the last born. So all of those things I couldn't do much because in Lagos you have to leave home as early as 7, you have to be in the office as early as 8:30, you have to jump on a bike or some bus of Lagos. So having time to edit, having time to go for work was not really realistic. And then the pay I had initially for anybody that wants to be an entrepreneur, you think is just you just get all the money immediately. It in real life is not realistic. So quit my job because it was also just becoming tiring. Then went into photography and reality stuck me. Okay, you have to go for jobs. I lived on the mainland around Ikeja. Many of the good gigs are around Lekki Island. So imagine you leave in your house and then you have your mother calling you at around 7 p.m. that Ibolowa, where are you? Are you not supposed to be home? And being, the insecurities of Lagos, Nigeria. So it was a little bit tricky trying to balance and working as a photographer, moving around Lagos, coming back home and all that. So I continued. Also, Lamboso, like I mentioned, I had all my gadgets. But again, you live with your parents, you live in a family house. So while you're trying to set up, you have to start dismantling back, even though they were clients. So it was not as easy as I thought I would. Leverage LinkedIn, I wanted something around branding because I just like the idea of people looking nice, to be honest. And then looking at LinkedIn, I was like, you are not really getting the whole picture thing. It doesn't really complement your post. I mean, you want to talk about motivation or you're talking about your sad story and then you're smiling. I'm like, it doesn't correlate. You're trying to talk about um, moving forward or talking about content that really touches the soul, but then your picture is not doing justice. And the idea of branding came about, okay, find just something nice that represents you. If you're somebody like likes corporate wearing clothes that represents you, and not just the traditional studio feel. So I started talking about branding. But before I did that, one thing I like to do is I like to be an example for the teach. So I did a branding sheet for myself, started talking about it on LinkedIn. And because aside from photography, I just sort of liked, not like I liked it was just mandatory for me to have content related to the photography I was trying to talk about. Yeah. So talking about branding, or talking about photography, you have to write. That's how LinkedIn is. It's quite different from Instagram. So then that's when the old long form content started coming around. So I started doing that. Physical events also helped me. I was doing photography at that time. Sean me. Then he wanted to do something called Local. Then he reached out to me and said, "Oh, Demi, you're a photographer, can you volunteer?" I said, "Oh, sure." And then I met a lot of people in real life. So because I met with those people, then we did the events, I tagged them on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn became familiar because now people that I know on LinkedIn, I've seen them in real life. So doing that, I also did another TED Talk photography gig for a friend called Presidia Madi. And then over time, that's how I was able to meet with people in real life and I was able to connect on LinkedIn. So fast forward, I now started posting more because it's becoming interesting. Photography, you imagine when you take photos of people, because LinkedIn was quite fun at that time now. People that you take their photos, you say, "Oh, it was an amazing experience at this event." Then they commented, "Oh, it's amazing to see you as well." But then that boils down to individual personality. Yeah. So it's one thing for you to take pictures of people, it's also another thing for you to know how to interact. And that's why that part of finding your voice and knowing how to talk with people is very, very important because people like matching energy, right? And it's not
Mm.
everybody that knows how to communicate with people. But then one thing I've come to realize is there are some factors in you that can make it easy for people to want to communicate with you. And that has to do with your appearance. So if you're comfortable, if there's some people that they don't feel comfortable without makeup, and that's okay. I mean, I used to be somebody that I really can go out a lot to events without makeup, and that was not, and it's not because I was addicted, but then I had pores on my face and I just wanted to be presentable and just be comfortable and not having to run behind the scene. So dress well, even as a photographer, dress well and also hyping people. So it's not even like you're trying to deceive people. But when you see somebody impressive, oh my God, you look nice, can I take a picture? Things like that can strike up conversation. So learning how to communicate with people firsthand is also something that will make people remember you and like you more. Okay. And this, in my opinion, it doesn't have to be about you being introverted and extroverted. I was going through Instagram today and there was a lady, quite a lot of followers, and then she was sharing how she prefers to take photos of herself rather than a photographer because she said she can't talk to people because she just don't know how. But then she has a lot of followers on Instagram. So there's a difference between you have a lot of followers online, you talking, and then you knowing how to communicate in person. So all of those things sort of added into what I became, if that English is correct. So because I now started talking more, and there's a community of people that can help you validate yourself, not in terms of beauty, but in terms of what you're saying makes sense.
Yeah.
So through talking, through writing, especially because that way you get to check your blunders, you get to be sensitive of your M's, of your R's, you get to be sensitive of your filler words, and all of those things make you a better speaker. So I'll just round up with this. So over time, when I continued on LinkedIn, there was LinkedIn audio, jumped in it, became a host, spoke with more people. So that way, obviously, before you go online, you have to do your rehearsal behind the scene, you have to test your voice. So doing so many activities would really help you as a person. And that's why anywhere I go to, I don't think I'm afraid, and that's because I know what I carry, and that also boils down to how can you be a person of value? Because there are some people that they are not 100% pretty, yeah, but there is something in them that people will want to connect. So if you are in a space, you don't have to be the loudest or the most dressed in the best dressed in the room. But if there is just one person you can connect with and offer value, value can be in terms of complimenting, value can be in terms of asking them questions, what do you do, how you finding the event, and just having that connection can really help you as a person. Let me end my sermon there.
Thank you so much, Damlola. I mean, you've said a lot of things, but I'll take a quick look at LinkedIn. We have like two people who have commented so far. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Aze Chukudi.
Hi
And of
there.
course, we have Peace Adele. And Peace
Hi
actually dropped a
there.
comment. Peace is saying that she loves you really big and she's really
Oh,
excited
I
to.
love you too. You guys are making me feel like a small celebrity. Please
So thank you so
do.
much. Thank you for your comments. And please do well to let people know that we are live on LinkedIn and on YouTube as well at
Amazing.
Jade Sola Adewodun on YouTube. We're live. Now you said a lot of things, but one thing I'm able to pinpoint is the fact that you saw a need on LinkedIn. As at the time when you came in LinkedIn, you saw that people were telling their stories. But then you also understood that there's a way you can tell a story and just the way a picture is can either elevate whether people would either look at whatever it is that you put out or
Yep.
not. And then you
Yep.
also said that you didn't just want to talk about looking good. You had to embody this value. You had to embody this principle of looking good because you were initially a photographer. Now, but
Yep.
you said you had quit your job. I wanted to know why you quit your job and why you chose photography in the first place.
Like I mentioned, I've always liked photography, but I would say in the current state, I mean, 20s, quitting your job, I just wanted to explore, to be honest. I can go back to decide to go back to 9 to 5. I mean, in the UK, you have to do 9 to 5. Not compulsory, but I used to do 9 to 5 before I had a child. I may and I may not, depending on the amount in my pocket. But the reason why I actually had to quit
Mm-hmm.
was I wanted to explore. I really, really, really like photography because the opportunities there. I mean, I had it was so not so bad. I really liked it to the point where I had to ask for 6 months advance on my salary just to buy flash because that flash is about it's not 100 200K at that time, and my salary then was about 50K. So I had to collect 6 months salary, and again, like I mentioned, I couldn't do as much if I had opportunities were there, but if I had the opportunities to go out as I wanted, do nice shoots, I would be big. But because of the circumstances around me, and that year that was it's 2022, 2021, and then I was dating my partner then later, and he was asking me that, can you help me with 15K? And I said, I don't have 15K. He said, what exactly are you doing? I said, business takes time. He said, you need a job. Oh." No, your advice. He said, you need a job, but that you can't tell me you don't have to think in your account. And truly, I really didn't have because the thing about business is as you're getting the money, you're trying to buy stuff, and if anybody knows photography, you know it's not cheap. be
No,
honest.
it's not
It's
cheap.
not
It's not.
from
It's not
buying
cheap.
a lens to buying cameras to even having to take Uber to your location because you are running out of time. It's actually expensive. So after the time, I then I said, okay, I'll look for a job now. I cannot be sitting at home. And at that time, we were dating, and I cannot be a wife that does not have a job. So what I thought of what to do, I actually studied accounting initially, but maybe because I went to
Mm,
a private school and then after uni and we did NYC, I was seeing accounting job of 20K and I was like, I can't spend such huge amount of money in a university and they are paying me 20K. So I really didn't even, I was not really interested. So I just went for any job that came at that time. And because I've not done accounting in a while, I said, okay, what is similar to what I've been doing on LinkedIn in terms of branding and writing? So I thought about public relations because I had a friend who was in PR. Then connected one dot to another, spoke with one person I also met on LinkedIn. He roughly linked me to what one of BHM. Then so I went to a meeting, was like, oh, why do you want to come to PR? I said, well, because I'm a photographer and I sort of have an idea in this and this, just wanted to explore. So I worked in the PR industry for like 6 months. Was it 6 or 4 months?
yeah.
So that way I was also able to learn about um, writing, what do you call it? Press release, just learned a little bit more in that industry. So everything still was down to branding. If you're trying to make somebody look good, apparently behind the scene, the guys in the PR industry would also be the one to write the story for the client or the
Yes.
person they're representing. So everything still boils down to perception. There's a part of you taking their photos, they have the photographer aspect, they have the PR. So everything, to be honest, still boils down to perception. So that's really how many of those branded things I get to see. So after then, got married, moved on to Abuja, and yeah, then left Nigeria, I think, a month after. So really, that has been the journey so far.
So from what I've heard you say, right?
Hmm.
You learned the rudiments of PR on the job.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And also partial
That's some
studies.
storytelling, copywriting. Yes, definitely. You definitely have to be able to study, but from from because there's also a bit of journalism in PR
Yeah,
because you have to have all the details and for you to be able to have a press conference, there are a lot of things that you didn't have to do
yeah,
that because it's very important and because of your skill in photography, it then makes it easier for you to take capture moments and be able to tell a story
yeah,
out of it.
yeah, yeah. That may, yeah,
So in a way, you were living in the ecosystem of storytelling and personal branding, and it was just very easy for you to then share it on LinkedIn because again, you had found a gap, and then you were able to share with your audience.
yeah.
Now, transitioning from Nigeria to the UK,
Hmm.
how did that affect you in finding your voice to the point where you're not able to share all that you know, regardless?
It didn't really affect much. Well, like career is also different from your voice, right? So for me, when I moved, I couldn't do much of photography in Nigeria. I did beat and moved here. Wife also I also had the same challenge I had back in Nigeria here because the cities as well, many of their events are either from like 7 upward, evening or early morning. And yeah, meanwhile, you cannot be walking up and down like that. So there, I mean, I could decide to do that, but I just wanted to just calm down a little bit.
Mm,
So I would say there are two type of voices you can have. You can have the online voice, which everybody
mhm.
has. So that's why you see a lot of people blasting celebrities, saying a lot of nasty comments. But then when you try to have a conversation with them in person, they can't even speak. That's why you see a lot of people that they're very vocal online. That's because it's just them and they can't. But
Yeah.
trying to talk, have a conversation with them in person, or they trying to talk in public, is just terrible. So we can say we have the online voice, which everybody does have, and then we have the offline voice, which is your one-on-one communication with other people. So my challenge, which learning to navigate really is the part of culture. Yeah, so Nigerian, we all have our Nigerian accent, and in the UK as well. Some people say, "Oh, why are people always taking British accent?" And sometimes it's not because you're trying to fake it, but you just have to speak in a way that they can understand. Because if I should give you my Nigerian
Yeah.
accent now, sometimes,
They may not even hear you.
yeah, you'd have to like. So, for example, the way I'm speaking now, I'd have like, "Hello, how are you?" So because our accent is deeper. So if you want to be too stressed for you to start explaining yourself, so the girls
Yeah.
are like higher pitch. So because you need the job, you're in the environment, you just have to conform. So the challenge of I had a lot of challenges aside from culture shock, from the fact that you don't greet your neighbors here, everybody just mind their business. That one was there, but I think our neighbors,
And in Nigeria, you have to greet the entire
you
community
know, so it was
to
quite
now mind it.
lonely. It was quite lonely, but where we live now, our neighbors are friendly. So to that part of, and again, the mindset we've always had from Nigeria, and that part of you thinking that, oh, people of color, they're sort of superior than you. Meanwhile, in real life, you guys, like black people or other people, can actually be more sensible. You understand? So there's this inferiority complex that you initially have, also from the things you hear on TV, from the part where I'm speaking to Imbo, that kind of thing. So at some point, you feel like you're not enough. Yeah, you would when you're trying to speak. And I usually think that I'm always shouting. So sometimes when I'm trying to talk, I try to talk slowly. But sometimes you might not even hear me. And I mean, my spouse used to like try to do accent before, but now he doesn't care anymore. He uses his Nigerian, his Nigerian accent. And I'm like, even be posh a little bit. So there was that challenge of you sort of feel inferior, but over time you realize that, I mean, these people can actually hear me. And it still boils down to those that are Italian, Spanish, Indian. You realize that everybody actually have the accent. And through comment section, Instagram, LinkedIn, you get to realize that these people actually appreciate the accent. They don't even want you to sound like them, but because of how we've been structured. So over time, you get to realize that your uniqueness is enough and nobody can sound like you, to be honest. So even if, and again, I still think it boils down to how you carry yourself, because I don't know if you had situations where there are some people that in your mind, they're not 100% attractive, but when you see the confidence in them, yeah, through the way they talk, through the command of the tone, even you dare not say
Mm,
that this person does not carry anything. So it still boils down to
you
it's
can
to be
see it.
honest, is not we can't say that you're gonna achieve it immediately. But over time, and that over time can boil down to you still speaking and you still learning. Because if you've accepted defeat, then it might be very hard for you to want to conquer. So it also boils down to you talking to people. So my mindset is already changing, and that's because of conversations we've had with people, friends that we know that actually talk to these people on a daily basis, and they're telling you stories about them, and you're like, I can even do better. So because of that uniqueness, which is what we're talking about, realize that nobody can be like you, and that is the importance of value. So you yourself have to be valuable for you to be able to overcome that sense of inferiority complex. Some people get to have, I mean, it happens to the best of us. People have inferiority complex, but then how you can make it go away is if you strive to work in on yourself daily. So I'll give example. In my church, I do photography, and when I first got into the church, because I learned media from home, I used to be in the technical room where I usually do easy worship. So went into the church first time, I noticed that the person handling the projector wasn't doing well. You know that scenario where the choir leader moved on to verse 2, and then you're still in verse 1, and then you're looking at the technical team.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I can do better. So walked up to them. I mean, it was our first time. Was it
Mhm.
first or second time? Just walked up to them and said, "Okay, can I help?" And they said, "Oh, sure." I mean, they needed more hands, so I just blended immediately. So that is the importance of value. And if you see yourself as somebody who is willing to make a change, immediately you get to feel among. That's why some people would go to a particular place and be like, oh, they feel left out. While there's some people that just get to belong more. And that's because they themselves, they put themselves in a community and in a space where they can talk to people.
Fantastic. I love what you said, and the summary of what you just said was being a person of value, having an eye for detail, and being able to have an eye for
Yeah,
solutions. Because for you, you got into the place and you have a knack for always filling gaps, which is very
yeah.
rare. And there was another thing that you said, that when you're able to offer yourself as someone that is valuable, you can easily flow with anyone. You can easily flow in any new community that you find yourself in, which is very, very beautiful. Now, what was that one opportunity that helped you to realize that okay, I am now finding my voice and I'm gradually owning my space? What was that one time opportunity that helped you to come to that consciousness that you found your voice and you're now owning your space?
I wouldn't say it's one opportunity, to be honest. Well, if I should say opportunity, it's dicey because, I mean, like I mentioned, there's the online space, there's the offline space. So I think it depends on the context of what you're trying to talk about.
Both, because from what you have said initially, there's the online space and there's the online voice and there's the in-person
Yeah.
voice. And you had been able to maximize your online voice to the point whereby when you then got to meet people in person, it was sort of easy. At what point in you sharing your story online did you then metamorphose into the point whereby, oh, okay, because again, like you already said, you have over 22,000 people following you on LinkedIn. So how are
Yeah.
you able to do all of that? Because I mean, it takes someone who has consistently owned their space to be able to garner that level of influence. Do you understand what I'm saying
Um,
now?
yeah, I think how it's, to be honest, it's my one size fits in. But I like to say there is also, I think I would like to say the part of just know yourself. So this is
Mm.
what I mean. So growing up back in uni, back in secondary school, I've not really had that opportunity. I just don't usually enjoy the click thing. I've never really been a click person. And not that I can't have conversation, but right from even secondary school, I never really had clicks. I mean, maybe because I got the beating of my life when I went to a friend's house back when I was in primary school, and I didn't tell them I was going to come home late. But aside from that, I've never really enjoyed cliquing. That idea of always having to follow people around and letting somebody know the time you'll be back. I never really enjoyed it. Even back in uni as well, I was always sitting at the back because I never liked the front row. I had friends, but I never really had a lot of friends. Yeah, and it still boils down to know yourself. I felt comfortable that way. I was not the loudest in the room, but I used to ask questions. I mean, if I don't understand anything back in school, I would ask questions. So after uni, um, I'll also say that I'm very vocal, especially when I'm around people that are around me. So I would say that through consistent conversation with people, and also through what's the word? Yeah, conversation with people and also having to talk online as well. So in terms of managing those people, you can say things like, that. Did I lose you for a second?
I'm good. We're good. Please go on.
Okay, okay, yeah. So I was just saying earlier about that part of knowing yourself. So in terms of if you're not really somebody that enjoys a lot of crowd, enjoying that place that you're in, and also not allowing things to get to your head, just see it as an opportunity. So if, for example, you everybody enjoyed that. I mean, having your first 30 likes on LinkedIn, having your first 30,000 views. I mean, I posted about it. It felt like a dream come true. But over time, you begin to outgrow it, maybe because you've enjoyed that part of life and then you move forward. But what has really helped me over the course of the years is doing the research, testing new things, trying new things. Don't be afraid, explore. I mean, I think I was just speaking to a friend of mine that I think what I'm doing on LinkedIn now, I'm currently bored. And the fear of judgment, and like, why should you be scared? Is something that you've done over the years. So, what helped me in terms of finding the voice, posting online, um, some people usually invite me for events, which I'm really grateful for. Events like this, you speaking,
Yeah.
that's another one. You hosting your own events. I've hosted a lot of offline events in the past, which has helped me. So testing yourself, hosting events, and yeah, hosting events, trying new things, doing videos. Yeah, videos can help you a lot. Even if you don't like the sound of your own voice, but that part of you recording yourself, even if it's like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you can get to own your voice because the more you do things like that, the more you see the mistakes, you get to edit over time, the more you become consistent with it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Damlola. From what I hear you say, it's always been easy for you because like you've been able to categorize there's the online voice and there's the in-person voice. So you've just been living the dream and you're just
It's
literally
not.
flowing
It's not
like a
really. I
fish
would say
inside water.
nah. I wouldn't say that. I think I would like to say that there's a lot of pressure. To be honest, a
Hmm.
lot of pressure online, but there's some people that I've not really been the person that likes to fake it online because I'm like there's some people that know me in real life, so it wouldn't work. So there recently, I saw somebody make a post about some people who used to be like top voices on LinkedIn suddenly disappeared and they don't know where they are. Now, back then on LinkedIn, a lot of people wanted to sell courses and things on how you can make your first 100K on LinkedIn. I'm always very careful not to talk about numbers. And not because I didn't get the numbers. I mean, I earned a lot from selling books, but I just didn't find it comfortable talking about numbers. So there are some people that also exaggerated their results and say, "Oh, I made so you can too." So because they started building their brand based on money, they a lot of their audience followed them because they could get that kind of result. Many of them couldn't get that kind of result, and over time, because talking about imagine you talking about how to make your money on LinkedIn for like 4 5 years, you will eventually be bored. So that
Hmm.
part of exploring different topics. I mean, I talk about my faith because I'm like nobody can come to drag me on LinkedIn that oh the Mullah promised them $5,000 from one gig. So I had that piece and I could talk about anything. I could talk about my faith, I could talk about relationship, I could talk about branding. I mean, I could talk about anything. And that also has to do with you being true to yourself. So if, for example, now you being a presenter, you come online to say, oh, I spoke with so and so person, and meanwhile in real life you didn't. And you did that for 6 months in a row. And then sometimes you don't know what to say anymore because many of those people that are following you are no longer feeling what you do. So that way you become more pressurized to now have to find another voice that it's not your voice. So I would say that being authentic, even if your growth is slow, even if the money is not coming immediately. And also, I also like to say, I mean, there's some people again on LinkedIn that are saying a lot of people are not ready to share their failures, they're not ready to share their processes. And I think a lot of people are also having the pressure. I mean, if you're not ready to share, don't share. There are some people that they just want to go into that process slowly, yeah, and then whatever lesson they want to bring out of it, they might not even be ready to share it in the next 5 6 years. So just knowing yourself, don't be in a hurry. If you know you can't be a coach, don't be a coach. If you know you can't um, manage your WhatsApp community. Don't do that so that you don't burn out. There are different ways you can find it. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I know that you share a lot of stories, like you rightly highlighted. How are you then able to share your stories without oversharing?
Um,
Because there's now this pandemic.
yeah,
Hold
yeah,
on, I'm
go
coming. There's not this pandemic in the bit, like you rightly said, that for some people, they wouldn't want to share their failures because it is personal to
on.
them. They rather share their success stories. But for some people, once they are then sharing, they then tend to go into details that ordinary shouldn't be for public consumption. But how are you able to share the stories that you share without oversharing?
The first thing I like to ask myself before I make a post is, why am I posting this? What lesson do I want to get from this? Okay. There are all there's some before I come to mind, there are a lot of things going online as well that there's a way people share anything they want to share, to be honest, and we consume things because we get to hear. But then a lot of people make a lot of posts from their emotions. So there are some people that probably um, they decide not to work today, and either because they stressed themselves yesterday and they feel the nudge to want to post on LinkedIn today, they come to online to say, some days I don't, some days you don't have to work, some days I don't feel like working, blah blah blah. The moral of the story is, if you don't feel like doing something, you don't have to do it. You get, so some many people are now bringing stories out of their own either frustration and trying to create a lesson out of it. So, for example, now if you were on stage and you made a total bad blunder, yeah, instead of you to say, okay, this happens and move on, you come online because of the thing of storytelling to say, I made a blunder during my best and I felt bad, but I just got to realize that it's okay to feel, it's okay to make blunders, and I'm just encouraging you to feel free. I mean, because you're trying to create a story, so a lot of things do not make sense, and that's that part of it coming down to people pressuring you to have to comment to people's posts every single time, having to post on LinkedIn every single time if you don't feel like it. I mean, somebody will come here to say, I don't like posting today, but then I remember that consistency doesn't have to. I mean, I could go on and on. I mean, you say things like this. Consistency does not have to be about what you feel like. Even when you're in a hospital bed, it's not you to rest because you're trying to create the issue of consistency. Say, I'm currently in a hospital bed right now. I don't feel like, but then I know that this will pay off. I'm like, just rest. Do you understand? So that part,
It's not necessary.
do you get it? So a lot of people, I mean, I've just been observing. I really didn't do a lot of posts this week because I was like, I can just listen. And I've just been seeing a lot of things online. I still commented on somebody's post today. The person posted about, oh, I'm not ashamed to say that I've failed many times. I did. He said he hosted an event, nobody came. He pitched something, nobody did. And I had to go to the comment that the thing is, people should not be seeing failure. People should not be tagging everything failure because sometimes there are either things that we can control. For example, if you host an event now, yeah, Jade, and at the end of the day, people don't show, and then you come online to say, oh, I failed at this event. No, you did not. There are some people that did the same event and they sold out. Is it that because there was not enough money to do marketing? There was not enough connection that one person can post to his network and have people come in. There could be issue of the location they're using. Maybe it's not attractive enough. A lot of things can cause something to fail. And that's why sometimes I'm not afraid. I mean, I wanted to do a back when I was in Nigeria. I wanted to do what's the word? Because they told me there was money in doing shoes. Asked one of my uncles for 50K, which I still feel indebted to. Went to my shoemaker. That, I don't really want to do the shoe now. Bought stamp and everything because I saw that only for me to just start seeing shoes everywhere on Instagram. I was like, I didn't do market research. And the consistency, you have to be consistent, you have to be posting back to back. It takes time. And I didn't have that patience. It didn't work out, but I wouldn't say that it was a failure. I just didn't take my time to do that. So what excess of this is the thing is everybody, not everything is storytelling. A lot of people just try to coin words because they are just trying to make sense out of no sense. So for me, I like to say, okay, why am I posting this? I mean, I had two posts that went viral. Was it last weekend was my anniversary post. I think I only posted
Mhm.
once. Normally, I don't do a lot of relationship. Not like I don't feel like, but like I don't have energy to be replying messages. So I said, okay, I was in the love mood. I said, okay, let me post on Instagram, on LinkedIn. And I said, okay, why do I want to post? And I said, okay, well, I can just share some few nuggets about in terms of relationship with God and having a partner that understands and all. And so I had to coin that story. So I took the focus off myself because if it was going to be on me,
Yeah.
people are just going to read and pass. And then because a lot of things also people do on well LinkedIn or anywhere is they don't go into details. They just say things from the surface level. For example, they can say things like have a man who is God fearing, have a man who loves God, and you see things happen. And I said, that's too vague. Why don't you just give few examples and let people go know the few details you want to share? And so I just had to coin my story in a way that could help people, in a way that could help people reflect on on themselves. I said, I can't merge single, married together. Let me do singles, just talk up to single people because I'm up to 10 years. So I feel like I don't have the right to be talking to married people. So I just did singles and it went well. And then I said, okay. And I asked the question from the comments, would you like more series? I just wanted to get feedback. And somebody else said yes. So spoke to married folks again. Then I said, I don't want this to be too much, if not the whole essence to be gone. So I just did 2 day post and I went back to my regular post. So the summary is you just have to decide what are you going to share. There are some things I feel like sharing, I'm like, there's no point. Yeah, if I talk about failure stories, I can decide to talk about it. But question is, are you willing? Do you want to? Is it necessary? You understand? So to make things easier for yourself is just always find out why. If you can answer the question why, you can be able to go back to your post 2, 3, 4, 5 years later to say, I did what I did or I said what I
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Damilola. More importantly, the essence of that, conversation was know why you're
said. Yeah,
posting. Check the essence of the story that you want to share, and don't just share things out of your emotions. Be very intentional
yeah,
when and what you want to
for that.
share. Now, what are your final thoughts? I mean, because of our time, I don't want to stretch this conversation beyond what it is. What will be your final words? Because you said quite a lot, but what will be your final words to anyone who is still trying to find their food as a personal brand person or as a storyteller? What would you say to them?
The whole idea of storyteller there explained to me because even myself, there are different variations of being a storyteller. So even explain that part of storytelling to me.
Okay, so there's a way you're able to tell stories about different things that you do that help people come into your world.
Yeah,
And you're able to use storytelling to own your space. Because that was one of the reasons why I followed you on LinkedIn. Is how you talk about your transitions, you make it very
yeah,
relatable. And everybody loves a good story.
sure.
And like you
Thank
rightly, had mentioned earlier in this conversation, for you, a picture would help people to want to stick to this post for them to be able to finish, reading the story. So, what would you tell anyone who wants to be able to share their story in your style?
Um, First of all, like you mentioned, pictures. I mean, that post with my
And then
partner.
telling stories, pictures, and then
Yeah.
in,
Then I would say
story.
two things. Number
Yeah.
one, whenever you're writing, when you're done writing, when you're done editing, go back to the post and act like you are the reader. Don't act like you're the writer. Go back to say, if I was a reader, would I read this? Yeah. And then you have to pick a style. So there are some people that write line by line on LinkedIn. I don't do that because I feel like I feel disconnected when I'm trying to write. I just prefer to have my paragraph so that the flow can be there. Grammar is important. Your first hook. What will make we know on LinkedIn, I think it's your first two, 3 lines. The way you write
Mm-hmm.
on LinkedIn is different from how you write on Instagram. Instagram, you
Yeah.
have to be very quick. But LinkedIn wants to think. So what are the first three hook? Don't I feel like clickbait, the more if you keep doing that, people know that you're doing clickbait and they will draw. So the first three hooks. So for example, yeah, before I can the first 3 lines and then ensure your post has progression. Okay. So if for example I want to write a post about let's say you let's say you no, you shall avoid her husband. Let's say you had a blunder, or you're having a conversation, or you're doing a presentation, and then you misspelled or mispronounced somebody's name
It was.
on stage, and then the person comes to say, "Sorry, Jade, my name is not so 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 and so. My name is this." For example, if you pronounce Mr. Salisu Abraham or something, the man can say it's not Salisu, it's Salizu. How do you want to explain that? So the first thing how do you want to share the story? The first thing you need to ask yourself is that, okay, what am I trying to let people know? Am I trying to tell people what happened and have a call to action? And the call to action is also very important in terms of, okay, am I telling people this so that they can also share the experience? Or am I telling people this to let them know that they need to do their research beforehand? So having a goal. So let's say you want to, or yeah, another reason can be just want to let people know that it's okay to make mistakes. Okay, so let's use the part of you want to help people. The end of the old story is let people know that mistakes can happen and you should learn from it. So your first 3 lines should be something catchy. For example, it can be um, mistakes do happen to people, but it takes somebody of the great mind to overcome it. Or you can do have an opening hook to say, have you ever had a situation where you made a blunder and you can't come out of it? Yeah, their curiosity. Something can be curious. Somebody can be like, yeah, yes, I have. And then they'll see the see more. Yeah. So the see more, after you've done that, you can now go on to the second paragraph to say, I remember when this so event happened to me. You let them come into your world. It depends if you want to narrate line by line, but you also need to remember that not everybody likes novels. So you shouldn't write your post in a novel style. Yeah. And also remember that there are some details that you have to be very quick to skip. So you can just be like, I remember this event when I was supposed to do so so and so and so. I did my research, did my rehearsal on the day itself, so 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 and so happened. And then this man came on stage and corrected me. And then it can now be like, so I felt embarrassed, but at the end of the day, I reflected on me to say that mistakes that happen. And here is my chat to you, or here is something I'd like to share with you and try you learn to do your research and don't blame people when things happen. And then you can have a call to action to say, have you ever had an experience where you made a mistake? How did you overcome it? Or you can just have another call to action to say, would you like to share any advice on how people can overcome their mistakes? Yeah. So things like that, but just ensure you have a good hook, no clickbait. Ensure that your second phrase leads to just like a letter. You have an opening, you have the body, and then you have a close with.
All right. Thank you so much, Damola. It was a very robust conversation that we had today. Thank you for helping us understand the rudiments of storytelling,
Yeah.
how to start, what the body should look like, and how to end. And also, when we want to tell stories, we also need to stand in the place of the reader to know if I was the reader of this article I've just written, would I actually enjoy this story? Once again,
I
thank
mean,
you
before
so
I
much,
go, can I
Damola.
ask you
It
a
was
question? Before I go, yeah. I
okay.
mean, it's just like the photographer who
Okay.
takes the pictures of everybody and never gets his own photo taken. So I want to put you on the spotlight now. Um, okay, so for you, what do you think are the mistakes you see people make, especially when it comes to finding their voice? And I actually want to hear from you. How do you think people can find their voice as well? Are you there? Did I look well? I don't know when I want to ask the question. I'll just wait for her then. Hi guys, sorry. That network is a little bit glitchy, but should be right back. So please stay tuned and ensure you do not leave the conversation. So since she's yet to be here, I guess I'll just continue on her behalf. My name is Isabella, and then let's continue the conversation pending the time that she would be here. So I was asking a question on how can you handle or what are the things that you see people, the mistakes you see people
All
make.
right. All
I
right.
was trying to
I'm
be your
back.
assistant host.
Apparently, my network wanna show themselves, but my God is greater.
Yeah, I was
All
just
right.
trying
Yeah,
to
the
be an
question.
assistant host to you.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. You're such a darling. Aren't you? All
I
right.
mean, I
So
was
yeah.
asking the question, two questions here. That so, what do you think are some of the mistakes that you see people make that is jeopardizing the part of they finding their voice? And number two, in your opinion, being a speaker, how do you think
Mhm.
people can also find their voice as well?
All right. So I mean, this is like putting me on the spot, but I
Yeah,
love it.
literally.
I would say, as a professional master of ceremony and as a speaker, I
Yeah.
would say that you should start from where you are
Okay.
and know yourself. To thyself be true. Understanding who you are, because it takes a level of self awareness for you to be able to know this is what makes you find better expression. Now, for me, I do a lot of things. I
Mm,
design,
that's
like
good.
fashion design. I design. I sing. I used to dance.
Mm,
I speak. I coach. I used to be an educator. Those are like six
mm,
expressions, but understanding that I know myself and what season of life am I in, what expression should have the loudest volume
mm.
in this
Okay.
season, because right now in the professional space, I'm supposed to be speaking, I will not come and be singing. The only
True.
time I get to sing is when there is a technical glitch before the national anthem, or
Mm.
during an event a client needs to be able to sing a song, if it's a religious gathering, and being the MC, thank God I have a good voice, I'm able to support and sing.
Oh, okay.
You understand? So it's being
Yeah.
able to know what expression comes in at what time. There are times where I walk into spaces and maybe people are having conversation as to what outfits do I wear. I'm able to give style advice. Say, oh, I feel like you can try this. This goes well on your skin tone and whatnot and whatnot. So it's been able to understand in what space, at what time do I express these gifts. It all boils down to self awareness.
Mm.
Do you understand? Because people
Yeah.
are trying. Because again, there's also the fear of being in a niche that then makes people not want to explore their other expressions.
I think they have the fear of judgment. Yeah.
There's that. And because somebody has somehow, somewhere, because of their influence, created an ideology that has now become law subconsciously. Because this person says it, that
Oh.
person says that. So, because there was a time where I used to struggle with, exploring my many expressions.
Mm.
But then, and thank God for good community as well. It was a friend that then made me realize that you need to know that the you are the product, you are the service, and then there are different expressions of the service. Just the
Yeah.
way you have a business that have different arms, they have the confectionery, they have hospitality, they have this, that, and the other. Same
Mm.
applies to you as a person. So first and foremost, it depends on how you see yourself as a person now, and then finding your voice as a speaker. For me, I've always been a very expressive child.
Mm.
I've always been the child that walks up to people and I've always been bold like that. So me then finding my voice as a speaker was fueled like the story that I shared when I was going to talk about this episode, right?
Yeah.
And said that Growing up, I watched Oprah Winfrey so much that I would tell my brothers that the time will come by I'm going to travel to Casablanca. I didn't even know where Casablanca was on the map. But
Yeah.
because I had seen someone do it, I believed in myself. And then fast track to the pandemic, when I'd had conversations with people, the first thing I explored was radio when I was in university. I explored
Yeah.
radio. And then it was someone that said, "Oh, do you know that you can be an MC?" I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know about that." And at the time, I used to follow, what's her name now? Ayo Myra Essay, because
Yeah.
far back 2016, 2017, 2018, they were the reigning female MCs because in the MCing space at the time, there were more men than women. But then up until 2017, 2018, 2019, I then found a lady called Joyce Daniel, who happens to be my coach and my mentor now. And I saw that, oh, okay, I can actually have a brand. I can actually earn an income from this. So for me,
Mm,
it's being able to find models of possibilities in your space. That's
yeah.
the reason why I'm able to do this. And also being a person of conviction. I don't just do things because I want to do it. I do things because I realize that I need to do this. This is a time in my life where I need to do this. And of course, with the help
Sure.
of God. So
Sure.
understanding yourself, understanding your own time and seasons,
Yeah. Time and seasons.
do you
I
understand?
think
And
I
then
agree
having
with that.
models of possibilities around you. So that's how I feel that you can find your voice and you can own. And because over time, I'm able to do this effectively because I've had experiences as a TV presenter and as a radio presenter. I'm able to draft my script because of years of experience and training. So it comes easy and natural to me. I'm not struggling to make a presentation. And I've had to
Mm,
work and host events at different industries across board: hospitality, corporate, NGOs, and the like. So I understand the lingo of different entities.
mm,
So it's been able
okay.
to read, experience, knowing yourself, and understanding your personal times and seasons. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I feel like I'm the host and the guest now.
Love it. Anytime we
I
come
mean, I
up,
just
I
have
will
two more questions because only God knows when next I'm going to have a convo like in
okay,
person like this.
okay.
I think that part of time and season, to be honest, is really true
Hmm.
because I think we get to overthink things a lot. I think it happens to me too because I think, oh, everybody will think this, but in reality, nobody cares. Just do your thing. And I
Hmm.
mean, I've seen a lot of people that would come online to start explaining, oh, why they stop this. And the comment section will be like, oh, don't worry, we got you. Just take your time. And I realized the thing is that maybe we overthink things. Did you
We do.
know that I think as of yesterday, I was asking ChatGPT that can I delete my LinkedIn and start all over because I
Okay.
just felt like the numbers were too much and because I'm doing different things, I have all manner of audiences. I was like, I'm not getting my just followers. But again, it still boils down to time and season. What you used to do like 2 years ago might not serve the new you now, so you have to evolve. And I think the last question I have for you would be so in this line of photography, checking YouTube because I like to read comments a lot. One of the questions people like to say is, I'm not pretty enough. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have that issue, and because of
Okay.
they feel they are not pretty enough, they tend to hide in their shadows or they don't like to come out. I mean, because I usually do content for my church and I want to go to big people that, oh, just I don't know why people are always scared of social media managers, but then you want to ask them questions, and I'm like, oh, no, no, come on, shy. So, why do you think people like to think that everything about them has to evolve around them being beautiful? And how can ladies, especially, um, get out of that box of because of the word beauty for them not to express who they truly want to be? Do you get the
Okay.
question?
Uh, Before I answer that question, there's something that I was going to say just before I wrapped up, right? And it would be that don't be afraid to evolve.
Mm,
Don't be afraid to evolve. Don't be. There was a time where I was struggling to have posts on my LinkedIn. There was a time in my life, yeah,
I
I
think
was
we had that
struggling.
conversation.
I did not
Mm-hmm.
know what to post on LinkedIn. No, I think LinkedIn was like, what are people doing here?
I know,
But
right?
after a while, I began to observe, learn, follow the right kind of people, look for models of possibilities around me, and I just started to just take my time. There were times where I didn't have what to share, and I'll go off LinkedIn. But after a while, I began to understand that this is a platform to find my voice, and I'm glad that I've been
Mm,
able to maximize it thus far. Now, to your question, unfortunately, we have um, setting long um, long perceptions of what beauty should be or what
yeah,
beauty is. These were things that we met when we were born, and these things have actually evolved because when our parents were born, they actually, some of our aunties had tattoos.
yeah. They cross once.
In their time, that was a standard of beauty. Then
True.
after a while, people stopped putting tattoos on their skin and they started leaving it bare. And then it
Mm,
evolved to people having different kinds of tattoos. Same with eyebrows in the fashion world, in the beauty world. There were different kinds of eyebrows at different times
yeah.
and different, eras. So the
Mm,
thing is, it all boils down to self acceptance and knowing who you are.
true.
Now, and I'm gonna say this, for some people, it's because no one told them that they were beautiful, with or without makeup.
I agree.
It's
I
it's
agree.
more of a foundational problem because when you grow up in a home where you have someone telling you you're the most beautiful girl in the world, you have your because the first person that has as much weight on a woman is her father. That's the first thing, because
Mm,
once your father can tell you anything, see, see, nobody, I've never seen,
yeah, yeah.
nobody can tell you otherwise.
I agree. Yeah.
I know of someone who said that. I know, she's one of, very strong voice in Africa right now. She said the first time she had a semblance of inferiority complex was when she got to university, because her father has made her realize that look, girls run the world. And
Mm,
the kind of, so her foundation was set in such a way that her father guarded her mindset, so she didn't have to
mm,
think she had to wear makeup on.
I agree.
So it's more of a foundational problem than whatever it is. So first and foremost, and even if you've not had someone to tell you that, the truth is you have to love yourself. The thing for me is I happen to grow up amongst boys. I'm also the last born of five children. But good, I don't used to show last born symptoms now. I'm too, I'm too strong for all of that. I mean, it's sweet to be a lot, but I'm too,
Yeah, big
I don't know
girl
the
now.
word to use for anything. Right. And for me, I went to a single sex secondary school, Federal
Mm,
Government Girls College, correct. And it was at that point I realized that I didn't need a boy to validate me. Personally,
mm,
I like to compliment people. It was just something I had as a person.
yeah,
Growing up, I was kind of child that when I saw strangers, I would just smile and say, "Hey." See, this my I have always been that kind of girl. And then so a lot of times when I see people that look really fine, I tell them, "Oh my God, you're so pretty." Because beauty is in the eye of the beholder. The more you look at beautiful things, the more beautiful you become.
yeah, I
So I feel
agree.
that for those girls that still feel like they're not fine, because you don't have the right kind of mirror in your house, my dear. Oh, fine. You five minutes.
Yeah, I
Like,
agree.
oh my God. Like, because it again, self-awareness, being able to know what works for you. Now it took me a while to evolve into my adult life to understand that, okay, there's place of skincare and maintaining your
Yeah,
skin, because
yeah, that one.
as you age, some things that may have worked in your teenage years may not work in your adult years. For some
Mm,
women, things that work in your 20s may not work for you in your 30s. Again, don't be afraid to evolve.
mm.
But then and again, whoever it is that you are and you're watching this, you are very beautiful.
Yeah,
There's
you
some people
are.
that, because they probably had some sort of medical issues or deformities and everything. Regardless, I believe that everyone is beautiful in their own unique way. So it's being able to see
Yeah,
the beauty in yourself. The lady that this Kelechi lady, she was in a what's it called, crash,
yeah,
she was
that
in a
one.
crash, and she had her skin. This lady had worked. She has worked on fashion shows with her scars and all, and she says she feels beautiful even more on the inside. So beauty is from within.
Mm,
Because if you have to
yeah.
depend on the external for beauty, I don't know, but really, let me be the person to tell you that you are the most beautiful human being ever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really agree. I mean, let me hand over a show before I take over a show. But to be honest, I probably because I've been in that shoes, everything you said is true. That part of the father figure. I mean, I think as I see, like I said earlier, I used to wear a lot of makeup, not the heavy makeup, just the normal foundation powder, and I don't do lashes, and then your normal eyebrow and lipstick. That was my normal makeup. And then over time, I was like, I don't worry, I'm fine now. But the truth is that the more I had that, and then I finally found somebody who was a skin what's the name? I've forgotten the name they call them, but a dermatologist that recommended a
Yeah.
product for me, and he started taking out the what's this word? Um, there's this word that they call it in terms of your skin being dark, and then taking out the dark skin off. I've really
Um,
forgotten the name.
the word that comes to mind is hyperpigmentation
Yeah,
now.
that one. Yeah, that one. So by the time I started using, I realized, okay, apparently I wasn't using the right product. So that part of you having a good skincare routine really, really makes all the difference. And then over time, and I went back to my pictures. I was like, you married a fine girl. Oh. So that part of the validation, and then
Yes.
you seeing yourself every day that, you know what. And then normally, to be honest, before I got married, I never went to church. No, even when I before I had a baby, I never went to church without makeup. I'm always meeting my husband late for church. But then
Mhm.
life happened, baby, you don't have time because your husband is part of the dramas in church. You have to be home by 8:30. So some days I don't even wear makeup to church, and I'm actually comfortable. And I think that part of the assurance, and also your skincare, and also the value that you know you bring to the table. And that, remember what we said about you can be beautiful inside out, and to radiate outward,
Yeah.
from your smiling to how you talk to people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Let me hand over.
I'm
Take your show
gonna,
back.
Well, I mean, I really love this switch, and it's really, really exciting. Now, I'm going to say this, and then we'll just wrap things up. And the thing is, being in a community that actually validates you. I mean, yes,
Yeah.
we say we need, we don't always need validation, but there's something that it does. Now, like I've reiterated before, I'm the kind of person that gasses everybody up in the room.
Mm.
And I make it a point of duty that when I see a woman that is fine, ha, she will think that I was paid to hype her. Like she will just be asking me, this, were you
Yeah.
paid to me? Because I understand that a lot of women are struggling because some women are struggling to compliment a fellow woman.
Really? I did a lot.
Some
I'm
women
fine,
struggle with
darling.
it. Like some people actually struggle with just saying you look good. But for me,
Uh,
normally I'm a hot somebody, more fine girl.
I mean, I remember the dress you wore for Tiba, like Kilo
Do
Shelle.
you understand? Like, auntie, calm down. You are what's going on. It's not
Yeah,
that. Don't
I
you have to be
you.
deep. And again, being able to know what works for you now, because of my experience in fashion, I know what colors make me look like short as a shut down every time.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
and
yeah.
so I feel like for ladies that feel like that, being a community of people that genuinely care about you and tell you the truth in such a way that it won't
Mm,
hurt you, because sometimes the truth will hurt. But be
true.
in a community where people will tell you the truth to your face, and then be sincere with yourself to work on yourself.
Mm, yeah.
So it's very, very important. Have people that love you, and trust me, with or without makeup, you are fine. Yeah, yeah, fine.
And good wig, please wear good wig, wear good hair,
Yes.
or use your natural hair, pack your hair
And
well.
use good perfumes, please.
Yeah,
Please,
that part is
deodorants are still
important.
affordable. Thank you very much. Okay, guys, thank you
Yeah,
so
thank
much,
you.
Jamilola. I mean, I didn't see this coming. I didn't see this switch
I
coming,
was
but
excited, to be honest.
it was quite an exciting episode having this conversation with you. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for
I do
having
not
me.
take our relationship for granted. Thank you. And
Never
of course, to
worry.
those of you that are watching us on LinkedIn and on YouTube, thank you for staying with us up until this time.
Gracias.
We will do well to make the replay available on YouTube and on LinkedIn. Thank you so much. Once again, find your voice, and Own Your Space is a platform where professionals coming to share their stories of how they found their voice and how they are currently owning their spaces in their spheres of influence. I remain Jadisola Adewadu, your host, and stay tuned for next week, Wednesday, for another exciting episode on this platform. Till we come your way again. Thank you so much, Damilola. We love you.
Love you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for staying with me up until now. I mean, it's really, really exciting. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening. Bye for now.